go buy yourself some of that worthless ass land and start a homestead. Why would you buy worthless high desert land? To build a house on, of course. I've lived off-grid in the high desert of Arizona for almost 5 years now. And, well, I'm going to share with you why I bought worthless high desert property and, well, so that I could build my house. If you're unfamiliar with the high desert, it can look pretty barren, and it is pretty desertous, if that's a word. You know, there's cactus and rattlesnakes and tarantulas and all that. The high desert, however, is a lot higher than the low desert. The high desert can appear to be almost like the low desert during the summer. Well, there are a lot of times in the year that you can see that it's much more fruitful than the lower desert. While you can make clay, out of the soil is basically loamy. That means it's basically equal parts sand, silt, and clay, which it's just not super nutrient dense. But things that are native grow in it just fine. And then if you just add some compost to it and add nutrient dense compost and whatnot into it, it'll be more fruitful and you can grow just about anything. I know it looks barren up here on the top of my root cellar, but even up here, look, there's some sort of grass there. This is alfalfa that I've thrown up here. And you can tell this is, there's mulch. And then underneath there's some compost material. This holds moisture pretty good. And so, there's some alfalfa up here, just out in the middle of nowhere, This is my rain harvesting pond, just to water the gardens and livestock if I need to. And it needs a little work right now. Basically, I hadn't had enough power running a powerful enough filter to filter it, but now I do. You can read about this system in the link down below. At any rate, that'll be filtering perfectly now. And around this last year, I planted a bunch of real goji berries. I have native goji berries here that are better known as wolfberries, but these are real goji berry. I have not watered them since I got them rooted. So for over a year, I've not watered those. And the same goes if you look around my pond here. This is goji berry. I haven't watered it in over a year. I didn't water this alfalfa. I didn't water this goji berry. Any of this alfalfa. That's a goji berry. There's a bunch of alfalfa and goji berry around this. And mind you, it was 20 degrees just a few days ago. So the season, although it's later than normal, is just really getting started. These are all native wolfberries. And these were here ever since I got here. But I've just been careful kind of giving them more water and more nutrient dense soil to hopefully get them to thrive more. And this is actually arugula that I didn't plant that, it just fell off of all the arugula I had grown inside the garden. So far I'm showing you areas that are really barren, but let's look at the garden. So I have a garden that's outside. I'm not going to focus on it this year. I've got the chicken coop that's part of the garden. This is the greenhouse, and you can access the garden by walking through the greenhouse. If you look here, just about everything, anything that's actually a plant already, this was all here in fall. So all this alfalfa, all the onions, these have been here all winter long and they did just fine in the Swiss chard. And then if you look even closer, there's a lot of new sprouts because I did just plant a bunch of seeds. And like I said, the season is just starting up. All of these sunflowers are just sprouting. So the point in showing you that is out here I have these massive piles of compost. I actually dug a hole in it just today. Out here I'm breaking down compost all the time, and so over here an example, like I haven't been paying attention to this much, but it rains and I stir it when I can, and there's just a mountain of good compost, and I add this continually to my soil in the gardens and out in the field now because I'm starting a big old field of wheat, rye, and barley. So in addition to the greenhouse, I have the geothermal greenhouse, which has never even really had a solar system on it large enough to run the geothermal 24/7, 365. But any day now, I'm moving a big system over here just for this system. So it's just going to get better. But the truth is, it's been phenomenal. Everything that's large in here, just like the other greenhouse, was here since fall. So I've been able to just trim these onions off. And now you see all these sprouts. Look, these are either cucumber or some kind of a melon. I planted both cucumbers, melons, and honeydew down here. And we're starting to get a lot. And, you know, there's parsley and onions and alfalfa and all kinds of things in here. Yeah, lots of goodies. Here's some kale and Swiss chard. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a raspberry tree, and it's bouncing back. Long story short, what I'm kind of saying is it's not worthless land. You know, the high desert, even the very worst deserts, they have been able to basically conquer. Like, you can green anything on earth if you just do it right. It takes time. And part of that is, you know, having gardens, growing your own food, having animals and livestock to create manure, to create compost, so you can create really good soil. And eventually you can push it out into an area. You know, you got your desertous area out here. Look at this little cactus, you know. But look, just right over here, I've got this area that's all fenced in. You see, out there's pasture, and the horses wiped it out, which is fine. You want to clear it the first time anyway, you know. But see, in here they can't wipe this out, and so I've been adding for an entire, all the way from last fall. I've been pushing through, and every time I got manure and compost that I can bring out here, I bring it out by the wheelbarrow a little bit at a time. And if I can, you see all the hay in there, that's actually seed. There's seed left in that triticale. I think that's what you call it. But and then I also have been planting some wheat and rye and barley out here. I'm just pushing it till I get to about right here. So I'll have this field that's untouched, and we'll see if just the rain alone will bring up that wheat and rye. And it's been a lot of work, but it'll be real worth it if I find out I can. The greenhouse up here, I planted that whole thing with wheat, rye, and barley. So no matter what, I'm going to get tens of thousands of seeds, and I'll be able to try this again if I can't get it going this time. And if I do get this to thrive, then I can separate my pasture into at least 3 sections. If I let the horses stay on a section for 4 months, I could put 4 months, 4 months, 4 months, and rotate throughout the year, right? And even if I only was able to get a fat crop in each pasture, and if they wiped it out within a few weeks, well, that's a few weeks of free feed 3 times a year. And I'll do the best I can and continue pushing forward like that. You can grow a lot of food. You can actually harvest a ton of rainwater. The little ditches down the sides of the driveway here, they lead all the way around to that pond. It fills in an hour when it rains hard. I've got about 10,000 gallons worth of rainwater storage so far, and it feels pretty well. And I do haul a lot of water, but I'm still slowly and surely building up to maybe not doing that one day with rain harvesting. If I can quadruple that system, then I would have enough water for 3 years if I had 40,000 gallons. So these are just ideas and things I'm testing, and of course by next year maybe I can put in a well. I get to work for myself. I've created products like red tea, blue tea, green tea, corn flour, black powder, tonic. They do really well. I've got ebooks, courses, webinars, and that's largely how I support myself on the homestead, so I get to be my own boss. It's fun working with solar power for me. Homesteading in general, I get to fix everything myself. My truck is broke down right now. I'm waiting for valve covers, and when they get here, I'll get up and running again, and I'll keep going. So I've got my shop out here. I've got gardens and food and lots of water, and then I don't use credit. I just slowly saved money. I lived in the camper van for years, and just slowly I worked my way toward this. And guess what? This entire cabin, including, I'm making my own windows, my own doors, my own hardware for the doors, my own hinges, you know, the bolt, all that stuff. I'm building it 100% myself, and everything all inclusive was about $13,000. Some people will say that that's outrageous, and some people will say that's nothing, but it is what it is. For $13,000, I own my home outright, and I have a composting system for a toilet. There's a sink with its own rain harvesting system. It stays full of water to wash your hands. I like the lifestyle. I don't think the land was worthless at all. You know, I was able to get a business going, build a little home, do things I love to do. It's not for everybody, but if you like those things, that might be, well, I guess a lot of reasons to go buy yourself some of that worthless ass land and start a homestead. What do you think, buddy? That's a pretty good idea, huh? So 5 years ago, I moved out here. I was laid off and just wanted to give it a roll and start a homestead. I'm not going to recap my whole story. I know that there's a lot of new viewers, so for those new viewers, there's that. But not having to pay mortgage, not having to pay rent. I found a piece of land that other people said was less than desirable, even worthless. I paid cash for it. You know, I did research before I did that. I called the county, learned all the rules of the county. I downloaded the county PDF. They're all going to have one that you can read their rules, find out what the rules are, and no matter what they are, you can work around it. You know what I mean? You can plan to take care of anything you need to do to be able to build yourself the kind of home that you want. If you want to have animals like I do, get yourself a piece of agricultural land. There's a lot of places where you could just buy a 10 by 20 shed and have it shipped to the property where you want to be, and then you can contact the county about building it out and to code and permitting it if you want to, or do whatever you want to do. You know, it's none of my business. but you know, so you get yourself a piece of land. If you can pay in full for the land, a cheap piece of worthless land, get yourself a little shed or a cabin, build a cabin for 13 grand, just like the one that I have. Build one twice the size or 3 times the size if you want, and just do what you got to do that. You know, you can do that. And now you own your land, you own your house. You're creating a bunch of food, by, you know, fruit and vegetables and meat and a lot of water, and meeting your needs, and you got the infrastructure you need, and you're doing stuff you love to do. The point behind all that is you can generate a lot of wealth real quick, where you had nothing just a few years ago, and now, not having to pay mortgage every month, you can save that money or invest it in yourself and your homestead and your land and your business. And you know, not everybody has to work a 9 to 5 the rest of their life, and it's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that I guarantee there's a lot of people that are perfectly happy and they love their 9 to 5, and that's cool. That's carved out for them, you know. And then there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to do that, and there might be people that want to live in the country, or people that want to work for themselves, or whatever, and that's why you might want to get a worthless piece of land and build a home. And then you can start to help other people, you know. Just recently I broke down, and I'm kind of stranded out here. I'm in a kind of a tight spot because I was going to go get the horses food like today or yesterday, and so I only have a little bit left, and I am working towards a day when I can have a whole year's supply of hay. Soon, before long, I'll probably be buying a year's supply of hay at a time. I've never ran out of hay for the horses. I still haven't run out of hay for the horses, but I'm in a situation where it's getting tight, and so I kind of had to ask for help. And somebody even reached out and said, hey, I can get hay delivered to you for free, and that's not what I need help, but I don't need a handout. And I don't mean any offense to anybody by that. I think you can understand where I'm coming from. Is I can buy the hay, and I always have, and so I kind of turned down that offer, but it blossomed into something else where I need a little help with the horses. I own these horses. I never had experience training horses and all of that. And so I'm not flawless at training the horses. I've had a lot of success, but I need just a little bit of help. And I talked to somebody today that has a lot of experience. For the first time I've owned the horses for like a couple years, and for the first time I really talked to somebody for a while that has quite a bit of knowledge about it, and they confirmed the idea that I had to help me halter sage sooner. So I'm going to move forward with that. So that's a blessing anyway. And then I reached out to somebody else who had offered to go get the hay for me. And it turns out they could use a solar system. And well, just yesterday there's a local woman I know and I have known for quite a while out here. She's a friend of mine, one of the few people I'd consider a friend. And I gave her my old system that was in the shop. So I gave her that solar system, which was the 400 amp hour batteries, the 3000 watt inverter, an 80 amp controller, a nice solar system, the one I had in the shop before the new one. So I gave that one to her. And then this lady, she's running right now to go get my hay, and I'm paying, I Zelled the guy the money. So I'm still paying. I'm not looking for a handout on that, you know, but I do need help, and she's running to get it. And I said, hey, could you use a solar system, a power station? And she said, yeah. And you know that the All Powers, what do I got? The 4000 or something, the biggest one that All Powers offers. It's like a 3,600 watt power station, and it's got like 600 watts of solar. I'm going to give her that. And it's not for the hay or anything. It's just, I've been looking, I do this regularly. I just don't make a big deal of it. I hate those videos where they put the camera in the person's face and it's like they find someone that's hurting and struggling, and then they put the camera in their face and then rub it in that they're helping them. This isn't that. These are just some local people. They're not really hurting or starving to death, or it's not a, you know what I mean? Like, they could just use the station, and I have an extra one. I've got a nice system in my shop now. I've got a nice cabin system. I'm aware of that. I don't need to go sell these and pocket the money. I'd get a lot more enjoyment out of just giving them to someone I know that'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it, you know? The system I just gave to my friend, she's like, you know, this is the biggest system I've had so far, so it's going to be huge for her. And the other woman, like, she's got plenty going on pretty much, but she could definitely use more of a mobile system to store more of it. Like, she's got quite a few panels. And anyway, you know, we all need a little bit of help here and there, and I always want to carry my weight 100%. That's just the kind of person I am. But I can accept somebody helping me, like running to go get some hay and helping me that way. It's hard to ask for help, I guess. But there's a lot of you guys out there that are real helpful, and I'm grateful. And for anyone that thinks that I am not the same way, I love to help people too. I just don't rub it in everybody's face is all. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can watch my entire cabin build. Turn on notifications if you already are subscribed, or subscribe again if the YouTube Illuminati unsubscribed you. And I'll catch you guys on my next video.